An American middle-class family adopts a 7-year-old girl with dwarfism, only to find out she's actually 22. She wasn't just after money, she even tried to murder the whole family. This is a real-life orphan story happening in America today. The Natalia Grace scandal. It's been a while since we've seen such a heated media battle. Almost everyone involved is fighting for their narrative. The media, documentaries, social platforms, including today's show The Curious Case of Natalia Grace, are all just different versions of this story. After the show aired, the case took yet another shocking turn. Let's dive right in and get to the story. This woman is at the peak of her career, standing in the spotlight, basking in applause. Her name is Christine. She's a best-selling parenting author and autism education expert, known as Indiana's supermom. But right at her book launch, police suddenly burst in. Her moment of glory crumbles instantly. Christine is handcuffed in front of everyone, charged with child abuse and abandonment. She struggles hysterically, her previous poise and grace completely gone, screaming, "Everyone's got it wrong. She's not the dangerous one. It's that girl." The scene rewinds back to fall 2010. Back then, Christine was just starting to shine. She had just helped her autistic son Jacob achieve a miracle the boy doctors said would never speak, was now studying quantum mechanics, preparing to skip straight to college, and he had just turned 12. Christine decided to ride this momentum by opening a daycare center for autistic children. She was working hard to secure funding and a location. The future looked bright. But, beneath the surface, trouble was brewing. A failed adoption had created a huge rift in her marriage with Michael. They argued about the kids' bedtime, gave each other the silent treatment over old issues. The empty pink daughter's room became a silent battleground. Not to mention, they hadn't been intimate in ages. Both clearly wanted to, but neither would give in. The turning point came on an ordinary afternoon. The phone rang. Someone claiming to be from First Path Adoption Agency called with urgent news. There was a 7-year-old Ukrainian girl named Natalia who desperately needed adoption. If no one took her within 24 hours, she'd be sent to a government facility. The only thing to note was the little girl had dwarfism. Christine was thrilled, but still asked the worker, Sandy, why the girl's previous family gave her up. Sandy was evasive, saying not everyone has the heart to accept a special needs child. She believed Christine was meant to be the one to bring light to this poor girl's life. Christine excitedly went to discuss it with her husband. Michael's first reaction was resistance. After their last failed adoption, their marriage was already on shaky ground. Adding another stranger to the mix, he couldn't tell if it would help or make things worse. Christine said just one thing: maybe we're not saving her. Maybe she's here to save us. Michael was convinced. The next moment, the family of 5 was already in the car, excitedly heading to the adoption center in South Carolina. But they discovered the destination was actually a rundown building. Nothing like the legitimate agency Christine had imagined. Sandy greeted the family warmly, her smile so bright it seemed forced. When they sat in the waiting room, they heard banging from down the hall, which made everyone suspicious. Moments later, the main character finally appeared. Natalia was very short, with thin hair, wearing a simple dress. Most noticeably, she had a walker in front of her. Even more surprising was her demeanor. For a 7-year-old, she showed no fear of strangers. She walked straight up to Christine and Michael. "Are you going to be my mom and dad?" Her tone had a maturity beyond her years. Next came the paperwork, and that's when trouble started. Christine questioned why the walker, such important information, was never mentioned before. Their house wasn't handicap accessible. Future child welfare visits might not go well. Sandy said it didn't matter. The state doesn't do home visits anyway. When asked about other health issues, Sandy immediately brought up money. Natalia had had several surgeries before. They'd need to pay another $7,000 as medical compensation to the previous foster parents. The couple was stunned. They didn't have that kind of money. Sandy said half regretfully, half threateningly, "Then there's nothing we can do. Natalia will have to go to the shelter tonight." Just as the couple was torn, Natalia suddenly appeared, saying her teddy bear was out of hugs. Could she get a hug? Then she mentioned she hadn't had breakfast. The couple realized the agency might not even be providing basic meals, but Natalia sweetly said, "It's okay, I prefer lunch anyway." The couple's hearts melted. This girl was so thoughtful it was heartbreaking, so they decided on the spot to use the daycare startup funds to pay this unexpected expense. After a series of red flags and hasty decisions, the Barnett family gained a 6th member. On the way home, the family stopped at a seaside restaurant. After the boys finished eating, they ran to the beach. Natalia wanted to go too. too. But Christine told her to finish her food first. Suddenly the girl flew into a rage. Not only did she throw her food, she abandoned her walker and ran toward the beach. Though her gait was a bit awkward, she certainly didn't seem to need the walker. On the flight home, the couple was puzzled. Reading books about dwarfism, the books did say dwarfism can cause bone problems and pain, but doesn't mean complete inability to walk. Maybe the kid was just too excited and temporarily forgot the pain. They pushed aside their doubts for now. When they got home, the couple excitedly showed Natalia her new room, a pink princess room they'd carefully prepared. But instead of the expected delight, Natalia frowned in disgust, saying it was too childish. She preferred something cool, or rock and roll. How could a 7-year-old girl have such sophisticated aesthetic preferences? Christine pondered silently. Michael tried to comfort the girl, saying he used to be into rock music too. They formed a subtle connection. That evening, Christine tried to give the child a bath, but Natalia showed resistance way beyond her age. "You can't order me around. You're not my real mom." Christine was pushed back and hit the bathtub. Scarily, the girl immediately changed her tune, crying and apologizing. Her emotional roller coaster seemed too rehearsed. Christine couldn't believe it. A series of abnormal behaviors had set off alarm bells, but the couple still, consciously or not, chose to ignore these warning signs. Michael enjoyed his intimate relationship with his new daughter, while Christine threw all her energy into preparing for the daycare opening. Their relationship was visibly improving, but at the same time, dark currents were quietly forming beneath the surface. Christine had a wealthy friend, Veer. They were neighbors. Knowing her friend was tight on money, Veer immediately pulled out $1,000 and donated it to the daycare. During their chat, Christine mentioned for the first time her struggles with her new daughter. Veer empathized, because her adopted daughter was also very reactive at first, saying hurtful things like, "You're not my real mom," which was pretty common. But later everything got better. When the child climbed into bed seeking comfort, parents would know. This sharing gave Christine some comfort and hope. Maybe it really just needed time. However, what Veer described was natural attachment behavior during parent-child bonding. This was completely different from Natalia's behavior pattern. Although Christine tried hard to convince herself to apply her friend's experience, the situation at home didn't improve. Instead, it became even more complicated. Today was the daycare's opening day. Christine was busier than ever, preparing food for the opening ceremony in the kitchen. Natalia suddenly asked to help. Before her mother could even react, she saw the girl grab a kitchen knife and chop vegetables with excessive force. Christine's alarm bells went off. She quickly grabbed the handle, struggling for the knife. During the struggle, Michael happened to see them. Natalia instantly changed her expression, bursting into tears and running out, saying Mom was mad at her. This kind of two-faced acting was way too obvious. Christine anxiously explained that she was just scared. Michael was skeptical. Scared of a little girl? How's that possible? The rift between the couple reappeared. After the argument, Natalia hid away. Michael found her and began sharing his own story. He also had an unhappy childhood. His father was quite a harsh man. When he first met Christine, he didn't think he deserved to be loved, because he'd never felt what it was like to be loved, so he often did hurtful things. Christine was always patient with him and taught him how to love. In this family, love is unconditional. It won't change even if you make mistakes. Natalia asked, even with Christine? Especially with Christine. Michael replied with certainty. At the daycare opening, Christine was fully prepared, standing before the crowd and reporters, about to give her speech. Natalia once again showed perfect timing. Right at the most crucial moment, she kept calling Mommy. Everyone's attention was drawn to her. She stumbled onto the stage, asking her mother to help with her dress zipper. She had taken it off while eating to avoid getting it dirty. The explanation was reasonable, and she seemed sweet and pitiful. Christine couldn't bring herself to scold her. Then, the girl asked quietly, "You really don't hate me, do you?" "No, of course not. I don't hate you." Christine was moved. They hugged and made up in front of everyone. This scene touched everyone present. Subtly, it also greatly boosted the daycare's reputation. Natalia's tactics were incredibly clever. That evening, Christine was in high spirits. The daycare even got its first client that day, mainly because Michael had smoothed things over with Natalia. She wanted to reward him. When she asked what he'd said to the girl, Michael replied gently, "I taught her how to love. Just like you taught me." In that moment, the couple rediscovered their original connection and passion. The distance between them vanished, but their good fortune didn't last the night. In the middle of the night, Christine woke up startled. A small figure was standing silently by the bed. The scene itself was eerie enough, but what was scarier Was the playful, half-smiling expression on the girl's face. Christine tried to respond gently, asking if she'd had a nightmare and wanted to sleep together. Who knew? Natalia's answer would instantly shock her awake. No. Not yet. She saw the girl had a knife in her hand. Christine tried to wake her husband, but the girl told her not to bother him, and turned and left with satisfaction. Christine rushed to the girl's room. Natalia was lying in the pink princess bed, in an innocent pose, but Christine didn't believe it for a second. She began searching around the bed, looking for that knife. Natalia opened her eyes. There was no sleepiness in them. She was wide awake and alert. This wasn't how a child who'd just been woken up should react. Christine, flustered, made up an excuse, saying she just wanted to check if the stuffed bunny needed more hugs. This ridiculous excuse provoked the girl's reaction. She suddenly screamed, her voice waking Michael. Michael rushed into the room. The girl pleaded, claiming she'd never left her bed. Michael was confused. He looked at Christine, full of doubt. After leaving the room, Christine went straight to the kitchen. She pulled open the knife drawer. All the knives were in their place. The set was complete. Michael followed close behind. He couldn't understand his wife's behavior at all. Christine explained everything that had just happened in the room, her voice trembling, her hands cold. The fear was real, but the evidence had vanished. Michael tried to comfort her, saying it was just a nightmare. Christine finally confessed her feelings. She felt like a stranger around Natalia, always getting angry easily, with no connection. If she couldn't even communicate with the child, how could she be a good mother? Michael reminded her that she was like this with Jacob at first too. Now he's going to Princeton. Similarly, Natalia was just another tough nut to crack, but nobody understood children better than her. Michael also admitted his own vulnerability. The last failed adoption had hit him hard. It was Christine who had held the family together and taken care of him. Let me take care of you for a while, okay? This time it's my turn, alright? This explained why the two were so desperate to adopt a child. Christine had a savior complex, and Michael needed to prove he wasn't a failure. To heal from the pain of the last adoption, everyone in this family was seeking redemption in their own way. So no matter how abnormal Natalia's behavior was, they could tolerate it. For these two, they needed this child, not Natalia as a person. The morning sun shone into the kitchen. Today was very special for the family. Natalia's first day of school, and Jacob had his Princeton interview. The younger son reported bad news. Natalia didn't want to leave the house, saying she was too tired because mom had woken her up in the middle of the night, so she hadn't slept well. Christine's heart sank. It had only been a few days, and she was already stirring up trouble. Michael went upstairs and knocked. He found Natalia wearing Ethan's clothes, having refused the dress Christine picked out. She explained the dress was too childish, like it was made for a 5-year-old. She didn't want classmates to think she was stupid. Natalia's face showed just the right amount of vulnerability, which made Michael's heart soften. He comforted the girl, saying when he first saw her, he thought she was at least 45. This clumsy joke actually made the girl laugh. Michael got excited. He wanted to teach the girl a trick to overcome nervousness, shaking off fear. But as they were jumping, they saw some fluff under the bed. It was Ethan's toy he'd been looking for all morning, and now it was beheaded. Natalia immediately begged him not to tell mom. Michael hesitated for a moment but chose to cover for her. He just asked the girl to be brave and explain the situation to mom herself. As soon as they got to school, new problems arose. When the official checked Natalia's documents, she found many abnormalities. Her birth certificate looked fake, and the vaccination records were incomplete. All the crucial dates and information were blacked out. Basically, these documents were essentially blank. The school had never seen such suspicious enrollment materials. Christine frantically explained that maybe this was the nature of closed adoptions. To protect the child, a lot of information isn't disclosed, completely cutting ties with the past. Just as she finished speaking, the school nurse happened to pass by. She checked the documents and raised a new question. Why were the vaccination records sent from New Jersey? Christine couldn't answer. They were now in Indiana, and the child was picked up from South Carolina. What did New Jersey have to do with it? The school nurse asked the girl when she last got a shot. The girl simply replied she didn't like shots, being evasive. Seeing this, the school could only relent, allowing Natalia to enroll temporarily, but requiring complete vaccination records within 20 days. Christine gradually realized she knew nothing about this child. Every blacked out spot on the documents, every avoided question, was full of suspicion. Back at the daycare, Christine immediately contacted the adoption agency staff. The phone connected, but it was just voicemail. After briefly explaining the situation, she went with Jacob to his Princeton interview. She was distracted throughout the interview. The phone rang, and she even left the room. It was the staff member Sandy. She seemed nervous, just telling her not to investigate further and not to call again. Listen, your daughter will be fine, okay? She's one of the lucky ones. Christine brushed it off. Looking back, that sentence was crucial. Back at the interview, the professor said Jacob could enroll as a sophomore. Before she could even sit down, the phone rang again. This time it was the school. Natalia's walker had hit several students, and everyone was complaining. The principal's tone was even somewhat accusatory. Feeling that Christine hadn't mentioned the child had behavioral problems, Christine argued strongly. Could it be that the child was being bullied? Kids with disabilities are often picked on. The principal shook her head. Witnesses described Natalia as the aggressor. No one had provoked her. The principal's suggestion was for Natalia to go home. Until they had complete records, the school would have to reevaluate. On the way home, Christine wanted to talk about what happened at school, but Natalia said nothing. Staying silent to all her questions, Christine changed the subject and started asking about her past, like if she'd ever been to New Jersey. Natalia's expression changed. She retorted, "I thought you weren't allowed to ask that because it's a closed adoption." Her tone was even somewhat provocative. Christine patiently explained, "That is family. They could get to know each other." Natalia only replied with 4 words, "I don't remember." Christine wanted to ask more, but the girl suddenly opened the car door. While they were driving at 50 miles per hour, Christine screamed and pulled over urgently, angrily scolding the girl, forbidding her from ever doing something so dangerous again. The girl just hummed a tune, not looking at Christine at all. This really wasn't how a 7-year-old should behave. When they got home, Christine was still shaken. She continued searching for information online. As soon as she started, several prominent news headlines popped up. First Path suspected of fraud, fabricating false identities, possibly involved in human trafficking. The comments section was full of accusations. Some people said 2 weeks after adopting a child, the agency suddenly claimed custody issues and took the child away. Others paid the full amount but never even saw a child. The stories got crazier and crazier. She joined a victim support group and connected with another victim in the same city, Justin. They met at the daycare. Justin shared her experience with her adopted daughter Molly. Just like Natalia, Molly kept saying she wasn't her real mom, was unusually close to her husband, but especially cold to her. Later she found out the child's birth certificate and health records were all fake. This was the adoption agency's standard playbook. They would sugarcoat the child's information, change ages, and create more appealing stories, just to place the child quickly. They didn't care about the child's real situation. It was all about the agency fee. So, this agency was a scam from the very beginning. To find out the truth, Christine contacted Child Protective Services. Due to confidentiality laws, the staff couldn't reveal specific details, but they assured her that Natalia did come to the US through legitimate channels from Ukraine, and children like Natalia typically aren't targets for human traffickers. Usually overseas, hospitals encourage mothers of disabled children to give them up, and they go to state orphanages. This somewhat eased Christine's worst fears, but she still had concerns. Why were Natalia's medical records so suspicious? Subtly, Christine tried to get the officer to let her see them, even pretending to forget to log off after using the bathroom, but was refused. And it was those few crucial pieces of blacked out information that kept eating at Christine. She just couldn't figure it out. Christine's world was falling apart, and Michael was facing his own nightmare. Michael was a retail store manager, and his sales performance had always been good. Company executives were coming to visit, possibly to conduct his promotion review, so he dressed carefully, constantly adjusting his suit and tie. This kind of moment to prove his worth absolutely couldn't be taken lightly. Natalia asked to come along. Since she wasn't going to school anyway, Michael should have refused, but he softened. He asked a colleague at the store, Jane, to watch the girl, while he went to greet the big shots. Throughout the meeting, Michael was precise with every word, knew all the numbers by heart. The executives nodded approvingly. Michael felt he was just one step away from promotion. Then, disaster struck. So this is also why it's so hard to bring up. The company has decided to close this store. The executive's tone was flat. Michael was instantly speechless. Store closure, layoffs. This meant all employees would lose their jobs, including himself. Michael struggled to swallow this news, feeling dizzy. 15 years of his career had all gone up in smoke. This wasn't just about income, it was about his dignity and identity. The last failed adoption was bad enough. Now this blow on top of it. He had no idea how to tell his family this news. On the way home, Michael remained silent. The car music was deafeningly loud. He needed this noise to drown out the chaos in his mind. Natalia quietly watched him, showing understanding beyond her years. He begged the girl to keep it secret, not to tell Christine. "I'll wait until you have the courage to tell her yourself." Back home, Christine had finally prepared all the documents. Tomorrow the girl could go back to school, but Natalia seemed very agitated. She smashed the easel Christine had prepared, and said she didn't like school at all. She wanted to go to work with Dad. He got promoted today. Christine forced herself to show excitement. Michael stood there awkwardly. He didn't know why the girl was lying, though there might be consequences later. At least for now, the conflict hadn't escalated. The next morning, little Ethan suddenly screamed. Thumbtacks were scattered on the floor. His left foot was bleeding from being stabbed. Christine knew immediately who did it, because only Natalia's room had a corkboard. But when Michael asked, Natalia didn't admit to doing it. Just then Christine's mother arrived. Hearing her grandson was hurt, she actually laughed. Michael's attitude was the same. So what if she did it? It was just kids' pranks. Christine was absolutely fed up. If everyone refused to admit there was a problem, how could they help the child? Grandma kept making trouble, siding with Michael, saying Christine was paranoid, always imagining problems that didn't exist. The family split into two camps. Christine was isolated. She was increasingly worried about Natalia's behavior, while Michael and his mother kept enabling her, treating all abnormal behavior as normal childhood mischief. During the argument, Christine discovered a knife missing from the kitchen. She instantly lost it and stormed into Natalia's room to search. Under the bed, she found that knife and more destroyed toys. Furious, she looked everywhere for Natalia, but heard movement in the bathroom. The moment she opened the door, she was so shocked she quickly shut it again. This time she couldn't lie to herself anymore. She had hair. What kind of hair? Down there. Natalia, this 7-year-old girl, had the physical characteristics of an adult woman. The couple took Natalia to see their family doctor, Steve. The doctor carefully examined the girl's various indicators and confirmed Natalia indeed showed signs of puberty. The doctor hadn't seen this before either. But since Natalia had dwarfism, some physical abnormalities weren't impossible. The most important indicator was whether she had started menstruating. Besides that, the doctor raised more questions. Natalia's clubfoot and hip joint both needed surgery. The couple was even more confused. Hadn't the surgeries already been done? The adoption agency had clearly taken $7,000. The doctor said firmly, impossible. Surgery would definitely leave scars, and Natalia had no surgical scars on her body. This completely debunked the adoption agency's claims. Only then did Christine muster the courage to confess her discoveries to Michael. First Path has been shut down. They weren't just tampering with children's records. They might be involved in human trafficking. Michael was shocked, unable to believe his wife had hidden such important information. Christine explained. She wanted to protect him, worried that if he lost another daughter, he wouldn't recover. But the situation is different now. What if Natalia isn't a child at all? Michael immediately retorted. No matter what, Natalia is our daughter. What about the unconditional love they talked about? They started arguing on the spot. The doctor stepped in and offered his opinion. In my 30 years of practice, my biggest regret is that, back when Jacob was young, we didn't listen to Christine's opinion. She kept insisting something was wrong, but everyone ignored her maternal intuition. Now, he wouldn't make the same mistake. Michael was left speechless. The doctor decided to refer Natalia and wrote down a list: orthopedic specialist, endocrinologist, neuropsychologist, and even a dentist. One by one, to find out how old Natalia really was, a comprehensive examination was needed. For the next 3 months, the Barnett family traveled between various hospitals and clinics. Days were filled with endless tests, and nights were Christine's sleepless panic. Each specialist offered a different opinion, but the core issue remained unresolved. Natalia's dwarfism was extremely rare. Doctors called her not 1 in a million, but 1 in 2 million, a special case. Conventional methods for determining age were all useless. Her skull size was like an adult's, but she had many childlike features, so the core issue was never resolved. Nobody knew how old she really was. Meanwhile, Natalia's behavior was worse than before. She even started bullying the 2 brothers in the house, intentionally destroying their toys, and showing aggressive behavior. What made Christine most upset was that, as a child development expert, she tried every method, but nothing improved the situation. Praise, distraction, isolation, nature walks, meditation. Nothing worked. In desperation, they went to see a psychologist. Dr. Birch believed that if Natalia was over 18, her behavior fit the characteristics of antisocial personality disorder. But if she was indeed a child, another specific condition fit better, called reactive attachment disorder. This is common in children who have been abandoned or lived in orphanages for long periods. In the first case, send her to a hospital. In the second case, the doctor proposed a very extreme treatment plan called reattachment therapy. That is, treat Natalia like a baby and raise her all over again, hold her, comfort her, feed her with a bottle, and rebuild the parent-child attachment she never had. Christine was stunned. Michael, however, was nodding eagerly, almost applauding. So the couple split into two sides again. The wife still felt confirming the age was the top priority, while Michael was willing to try anything, even if from then on, he was in charge of everything about the child. So, Michael actually began every day with a bottle and applesauce, trying to coax Natalia to eat like an infant. The girl refused in disgust. Christine immediately ordered her to go outside and cool down. Over these 3 months, some things did change at home. Christine's career unexpectedly took off. Not only was she in the newspaper, she even got TV interview invitations. She was going further and further down the path of being a parenting expert. In contrast, Michael finished the store's clearance sale completely. The last shelf was emptied. He was officially unemployed. The hardest part wasn't being unemployed, but that after 3 months, he still hadn't told his wife. One time, Christine was cleaning her daughter's room and found a pile of bloody socks. Had Natalia really started menstruating?